peace of mind, and love divine. Yeah, we open this council meeting in the name of the great God, Allah. I realized just throughout the week that our people do not understand the purpose of living.
No, they don't.
And let me start in the balance by saying it was a point where I didn't understand.
That's right. We all.
So I know why you don't understand.
That's right.
Because I came from not understanding. But how I came to understand was not doing the same thing that caused me not to understand. So we're going to get a great understanding of what life is on the higher side. As we open up Sufa 5 out of the Moorish Holy Quran of the 18 years teachings of Jesus, this has everything that K.O.S provides have saving power. So it's saving myself. This is how I know. Nothing that is brought forth is to preach to you. This is for the knowledge brought forth for you to teach yourself, as I taught myself. As you hear what I'm saying, as I taught myself. The self wasn't teaching the I. So when we understand the difference, then we're going to be able to understand how do self has to grow. So we're going to start off on the basic level before someone begin on Sufa 5, chapter 5. We're going to start with an easy phrase. To live out of our holy Al-Sufian. To live is to learn. And so the more you live, the more you learn. So every day you should be learning something new because every day is a new day. But if you live in the same ways, then you won't learn anything new. As it says, you must renew your mind. And before we get into renewing your mind, we got to open up to an understanding of tools. And so we have heard of masonry, and in masonry, they have certain introductions to a certain mindset when it comes to certain tools. And so when we want to know and understand is those tools that was given was for you to build something. And not knowing what to build, we wind up not building anything. So we have to understand what is life spent to do. We see to live is to learn. So once you learn, what are you to do? And we're going to get into some divine lessons of how to use some tools to self. This is how you check self. This is how you erect self. This is how you do everything you need to do in reality for you with self. And we're going to be at chapter 5. I got my digital copy. I'm going to get my physical copy. I got my digital copy. I'm going to go get my physical copy. We can begin on chapter 5.
All right. I'm going to start.
Chapter 5. After the feast, the homeward journey, the missing Jesus, the search for him. His parents find him in the temple. He goes with them to Nazareth, symbolic meaning of carpenter's tools. The great feast of the Pasch was ended, and the Nazarenes were journeying toward their homes. And they were in Samaria, and Mary said, "Where is my son? No one has seen the boy." And Joseph saw among their kindred who were in their way to Galilee, but they had seen him not. Then Joseph, Mary, and a son of Zebedee returned and sought through all Jerusalem, but they could find him not. And Mary asked the guards, had they seen Jesus, a little boy about 12 years old? The guards replied, "Yes, he is in the temple now, disputing with the doctors of the law."
Okay, could we stop right there? Now, for those that understand the Bible, know that's in the Bible right there. And that's the stopping age of where you hear about Jesus at that limit right there. So the teachers in between those times was missing, and this is what we about to get into as she read. Because this is a very important part, because the doctors of law of those times is the same type of people of today.
That's correct.
So now when we're talking about the law, so what law is Jesus disputing? See, because this is the law that he came to fulfill.
That's right.
See, and the doctors is just the same way of today. What do doctors do? They doctor you up. Doctor mean, how you say, artificial. Yeah. Surgery is artificial. That's doctoring you up. So the doctors of law, that means they doctored up the law.
Yeah.
They messed it up, made it confusing to now that people don't even know what law Jesus was talking about. And so this law is what is the divine law, or the Torah law, the law of Allah. So that's why we want to make that emphasis on number 6.
7. And they went in and found him as the guards had said. And Mary said, "Why, Jesus, why do you treat your parents thus? Lo, we have sought 2 days for you. We feared that some great harm had overtaken you." And Jesus said, "Do you not know that I must be about my Father's work?"
Stop right there. That's another well-known passage for us. Because myself, when I read the Bible, and when you come across that, it says my Father's business. And me, myself, I wanted to understand what was the Father's business. Because apparently he wasn't talking about his Father. But apparently he was talking about some work. So when you go into delving into the why, and this is how you get into the understanding, what what business, what Jesus was talking about that he came to do, which was the work of a higher source. And it's the Torah, and it's the divine law, and it's the law of Allah. So we want to keep that in mind, that the Father's business, the Father's work, because it took me a long time to find this. I know this is not no easy sell for understanding and knowing. These people deterred you and put things in symbolic form so you wouldn't understand the Bible clearly.
That's right.
So you have to sit time with it. So when we're talking about that work, it's the knowledge. And that knowledge is what the Al-Sufian says is the all-knowing. So this work that he was doing was part of the all-knowing of being the knowledge of knowing yourself. So as we continue, keep that mind frame.
10. But he went round and pressed the hand of every doctor of the law and said, I trust that we meet again. And then he went forth with his parents on their way to Nazareth. And when they reached their home, he wrought with Joseph as a carpenter. One day, as he was bringing forth the tools for work, he said, These tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things were made of thought and where we build up character.
Okay, now that wasn't in the Bible.
Ooh, sure wasn't.
See, that was taken out.
Sure was.
And it was filled in by the doctors of law.
Yeah.
Doctoring up the law. To fit and suit their own needs. To hide from the people the knowledge of themselves.
Right on.
But in return, that's what they knew, is the knowledge that Jesus knew. See, but they playing.
Yeah.
They playing the rodeo. They playing the game so the game can continue. So we want to keep in mind that's not in the Bible. So that is why we need to really pay attention to this great wisdom right here.
Yes, indeed.
Because we finna go into something called the workshop of the mind.
Of the mind.
And this is where we start building and using the tools that some in masonry known as the tools, and some we just talking about building, constructing. So what is life spent to do?
Yeah.
So in this phrase, what is the mind? Because the mind has a workshop. But what is the mind?
Beautiful question. Okay, it says the mind, just from the text itself.
Okay.
Number 13 says the mind is where things were made of thought. So now we talking about not physical things.
That's right.
We talking about these things are made up of
thought.
Okay. So now this is how we enter the domain, into the workshop. This is where we work. Number 13, towards the end.
Yeah, that's the second part of that paragraph.
See, and the workshop is where the tools be.
Right on.
See, and this is the workshop of the mind. So it's not the mind, we talking about the workshop.
Yeah.
So the workshop is where we use, because tools will be physical things that we will actually go and grab.
That's right.
So now self, to actually erect from becoming its own devil.
It's saying where is in a location. In that location of the mind. That workshop. Because bringing it back to self. That's all I'm trying to get to.
Mm-hmm. And so what's unclear?
And now it's just no, it's not clear. I'm just actually. I mean, it's clear. I'm just saying from what you was just saying. I'm just recapping. Like, the
Okay.
mind
Mm-hmm.
is where the thoughts are made,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have a place in the mind to build character, like with the tools.
Mm-hmm.
And other things may be going down in the line too, but this is what we're talking about.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking about thought.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same thing as any physical thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get to a thing without having a thought of it first.
Right on.
You have to think of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about thinking, this is where we enter the domain of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
But we dealing with now thoughts,
Right.
learning how thoughts become things.
Right on.
See, but now we finna change thoughts direction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Most people just spin their thoughts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Spin mean go out or say destroy.
Yeah, do things.
We talking about building.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the self is always spending itself
Mm-hmm.
outwardly,
Mm-hmm.
giving all itself to nothing.
Yeah, in a wrongful manner.
Now this how you start having something for self.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So now when we talking about doing for self, this is how you do for self.
Mm-hmm.
See, self has been
No, go ahead.
self has been confused to think that the job
Mm-hmm.
is where its workshop is.
Yeah.
That it's building up itself.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the lower self. That's a thing. Your true occupation is to understand that your workshop is working on yourself.
Right on.
And in actually to work on yourself, you got to work on which is above the self.
Right on.
That can pull self into a higher state.
Mm-hmm.
What we're saying, build up.
Yeah.
And keep that word in mind as we
that's
go
what I'm
forward.
talking
But build up. And this is where we have to understand the difference between thought, which turns into things, which resists character.
Yeah.
Now, character is different than thought. This is why we building up character, meaning we're going to have to now ignore certain thoughts.
That's right.
Thoughts are influences.
They're all around you. That's right.
So, but when you building up character, meaning now you got a certain obligation to hold your own self to.
Right on.
See, and that's the difference between the I and mind
right on.
and the self itself.
Right on. Because see, when we look at thoughts, a lot of people have thoughts on their mind, but are they good thoughts or bad thoughts? Are they negative thoughts or positive thoughts? And then when it said, just like what Noble Drew Ali said, he said, study. And when you get through studying, study what? Yourself. Why you got to study this that workshop of the mind is what he was pointing to. That right there. Now, Jesus was talking to the doctors and the lawyers. And not only talked with them, he talked to senators and governors as well. So now, watch this. If somebody else is making all the decisions from a thought, and they making all the decisions, and they don't ask you for none, they don't ask you for any of your thoughts or how you feel about it. So if another race of people making all the decisions in the thought, and then the other race just sit along and go along, and then it's the Lord. Because the mind, we let somebody else determine and dictate what we're gonna do, because the law said two men don't supposed to be married, and then they pass bills and they got people of high master's and bachelor degree, and then they make decisions and they'll pass bills with it, and then they make it reality. Somebody else's thought become your reality.
That's why That's why I was saying KOS community. We don't associate ourselves with those. Those are called in KOS community white man ideas.
Right, and that's what that is.
And so we don't follow white man ideas.
That's correct.
What I'm pulling up, white man don't follow. So when he got his own world, we have our own world.
Right on.
We leave him out of it.
Right on.
Just like he leave us out of it, except the enslaved. And if you choose to go over there, we needed education and that goes with it. Things that really affect your reality. I'm not just talking about you just this is feel good speech. This is execution of your works. We speaking to someone who sat and studied a long time. And I'm talking about myself. When it comes to ideas, I'm well sought out with my own self. What's mine? I decided with my own mind what ideas I will accept and ideas I will not accept. And so with that, that's called building up. Looks like actually instead of reading it, but I'm speaking to you what it looks like after you're not hearing none of that. You don't care about none of that. They not your mind. I deal with my mind, and no man ain't coming in my mind without my consent.
That's where
you can keep your influences because your influences is only thoughts, and thoughts are referring to things. I'm talking about character. Right. We don't follow people with weak character that we know are lesser and lesser than you. The black man is pure. The black woman is character. If they ain't pure, their talk is our creator and how you reflect creator. Because we talking about real time, we talking about real life and things you got to really deal with yourself. We're not talking about you using money to avoid yourself. This, when you come to this community, this is about you acknowledging you have a self and you got to work on yourself, and nobody can work on yourself but you. And if you fall, that's because of you failed, but not because of someone helped you. Because you are upheld to a standard. And if you can't uphold the standard, then you cannot. And so when we understand Allah has all rights and jurisdiction over this community. So when we understand the way, when we're talking about building up character, this is not talking about church. We're talking about mathematical science equal to prosperity and wisdom to lift you off your feet, to get you off your ass and raise you up a man and live in society amongst those who have what you did not have, and you build amongst what you need in life. And that's freedom for bills, freedom for junk. We need to understand the necessities of life, not guns and butter. We need to understand the words of our creator, and you live those best ability, and you learn to live, and you live to learn, and you study, and you execute. So when we're talking about the mind, this is quarters off. So if you are in piss poor actions right now, that means your headquarters in piss poor decision making. We have to understand attitude follow gratitude. The mind is a state. It's not a thing or place. This thing is something to understand while you have life, because you may not be able to use it again because you didn't use it while you had it. So when we're talking about talking to someone who loves his mind, you're not just going to say anything and then understand that he doesn't understand what you're saying. We talking about what reality is saying about higher than what everybody is saying. Ideas. The black woman and the black man. And if I got to be the first to say it, then I would say it. But that don't roll over here. We have our own world. Build fortitude by the strength of wisdom. And so all who can understand, be open. This is for all of us. but you have to receive the truth, because the truth gonna burn if you ain't. Because we talking about freeing yourself from this hell you in. You created for yourself. I didn't do it for you. Help, and I'm demonstrating what it looks like for you if you decide to take that route for yourself. We talking about in the time you got to live what you are. There's no more time to be fake. There's no more time to be talking what you ain't walking. It ain't no time to just be using words. It's time for understanding, to know what you saying and mean what you say. Because the mind is something that carries on. And we have not spent the time to care about ourselves, to even care about the highest part of yourself. So when we're talking about the highest part, that's taking the time out to bring to you satisfaction guaranteed. Satisfaction guaranteed when you understand how to build up your character. This deals with your emotionality. The reason why we have to understand the character is because of the Sufian. Everything reports back to Allah. When we deal with character, character is 144. So we pull it on the screen. We in school. We see character all out the Sufian. But we're going to start right here. As the Sufa, which is characteristics. Each Sufa is a characteristic, and it says each character. So what we want to build up a character to is into a divine temple. And this is the temple that has to be built by yourself. So if we don't understand this, it's going to cause damage in your life. And if you don't want damage in your life, then you better be insured with wisdom. And so this is what we have to go to understand all of these texts. Because none of these texts have broken down any of these things that is simple and plain and easy to maintain. So now we move to the way is a sacred gift. A gift of 144 sufa, each describing a character of wisdom. So when we're talking about self is going to have to learn that it has two selves. One that's dumb and just fall into anything said and read. Then you got a higher self that sits and contemplates and actually thinks and see if that's justice all across the board. So when we're talking about character, that's like your spirit man. So doing activity, they are showing their character, know what is happening. So we must understand this. If we not, we're going to be left for dead. We in a time period where you would be left for dead. The whole world is confused right now. And they don't have understanding of these simple understandings that man was pure in his beginnings and he must return. I'm done with mine. Because we finna get into some heavy work.
14. We use the square to measure all our lines, to straighten out the crooked places of the way, and make the corners of our conduct square. We use the compass to draw circles around our passions and desires, to keep them in the bounds of righteousness. We use the axe to cut away the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. We use the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it in until it is part of every part. We use the plane to smooth the rough, uneven surfaces of joint and block and board that go to build the temple for the truth. The chisel, line, the plummet, and the saw all have their uses in the workshop of the mind. And then this ladder with its trinity of steps, faith, hope, and love, all it on it, we climb up to the dome of purity and life. And on the 12th step ladder, we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of that which life is spent to build the temple of perfected man.
Now, my question would be, who interested? And if you're interested in that, then you come to K.O.S community. Next question would be, who heard that before? These things are to be used after being read. These are to correct the lower self. This is how you build the lower self. We talking about geometry, angles, and construction. Now we should know what life is spun to do. Life is spun to do. Let's say, have anybody told y'all this in life? That life is spun to build the temple for the truth? Or did they tell you to go get a job, to go a home, get you a car, that the rules of the house are? Not to build the temple of truth. So this is why we got situations that we must fix. And only the truth can fix it with the mind of self. And it starts with my mind. I fix myself and fix my ways. I was doing wrong. So each must do what others can't do for you. And that's fix your mind. They can buy you clothes. They can buy you all externals. But no one can fix your mind. This is what we call the workshop. This is what you have to do by you about yourself. If you don't care about yourself, then we have a mind is a terrible thing to waste. That means you are not a good caretaker of the mind. And if the Creator gave you a mind, the best thing of the best, and you did, which not mean you did not build the temple for the truth. What's the temple? The mind. Your mind is supposed to be built up like a house. That's what we don't understand. Your spirit is going to go in the heaven. You got to build it. But we don't understand because of the teachers have not been understood. We don't want to say it. The things that need to be said will actually really destroy people's relationships. Because you will see that most people's relationships are built on falsehoods. You can't speak truth to one another, then you're not really friends. How you like that? Because only truth can build the mind. And if your mind is weak, that means you are acceptable to any influence. I get good works out. A good friend need to use their brain just as well. Everybody don't have all the answers. But if you around good minds, then the answer's there. So we have been taught to go look outwardly and not look inwardly, to build outwardly, get you a home, get you a nice woman, get you a nice man. And we see all that ain't even working out. Because the grounds are false. Footsteps is falling right into a pit. And if we don't have no correction to put a board over the pit so we can all walk over, then we all gonna fall in the hole. What we are spent for to do. So part one, build the temple, build the mind for the truth. In the previous, I remember great elder reading about the purity, that the cleansing rite was for the building of the temple, and the temple was within. So if we don't never use our mind to connect past lessons, then what we doing? Because this is not a show. Life is not a show as the white man has made it. He's just making a show out of you. You his laughing stock. While he get rich off of you, leave his children real inheritance and keep them in real power and control, knowing how to manage you. But we not understanding that these are tools that we're supposed to all learn. You see, Jesus was 12. So when I say the black man and the black woman is far behind due to the Church of Christianity and their concepts plagued by the white man ideal, when the black man accepted the white man ideology, he went down from hell to find out it was hell. Keeping up with the Joneses. And look where it has left our people, out of their nature. And now their children out of their nature. So to bring this back home, you got to know self is causing all your disaster. But you also have the called the mind. But you got to take it down and raise yourself and elevate yourself past flesh into the land of fleshless things and open and penetrate your own to think. This is it tells us also that the purity, the dome of purity in life. So when you hear the word wisdom, this is the word wise dome. If you know, I always say wisdom is purity. Purity is wisdom, and wisdom is the highest quality of spirit life. So when we're talking about what is it that we have to make pure, you have to make pure your wise dome. The Creator show it every day. Yeah, why are you in the darkness hiding your light? Our old folks say, let your light shine. So why are we not letting our light shine if our light is filled with truth? Because light ain't physical. Light is a thought of Allah. So how we cannot understand that we have to build something up when the child is a baby? A child don't come out full grown. A child is even growing to grow into something. But this is what we find. You're going from a baby all the way to an elder to reach the dome of purity in life. And to reach this dome of purity of sin, meaning you leave the plane of earth or the plane of self, the lower self. While you living, you're going to have to access your higher self. So you can access your higher self, you're going to have to build your higher self. Space is there for you to build the highest house. But you got space for your greatest mind. And this is many mansions that you can live in that was told to you if you into the traditional scriptures. I have many mansions that you know not. I go See, that's what you doing. You listen to someone else. No, you supposed to be preparing. But he talking to you. You supposed to be preparing a place for yourself. But you doing it on the physical. And you know it's not permanent. But you've been tricked to say that death is not real. You must understand death is the name of Allah. This is to show your grandy works. To show you that you was about what Jesus said, my Father's word. This is what every self got to do. Self has to put himself to know self and pick up his mind and do his Father's knowledge. Knowledge don't live in the body. Knowledge lives in the mind. This is how you get a wise dome held by the trust of knowledge. We got to understand what's being said here. A square? We're not talking about the physical square. We're talking the square.
They don't know nothing about that.
Yes, we're talking about the workshop of the mind. The spiritual square. This is where you measure all your words. What you mean by measure? That's how you construct. You have to measure inches, feet, distance. So the same with your words. Your words are taking you somewhere. You are traveling on the thoughts of your words. So we must understand that each word is a line, as a script. A script is a line. A verse is a line. In no way in nature do you see a line. So what you talking about? We're talking about the word. The word is the line you walk on, the tightrope. This is how you know a spiritual man himself by the words he speaks. He don't speak outside of himself. He speaks from the inside of himself. Spiritual square to measure all our words, to straighten out the crooked places of the way. When you make improper judgment, this is to straighten out your words. You made an improper to say that you was wrong. And that is what corrects you as the spiritual square. Remember, you have no mind if you have no truth. Truth is connected with mind. Minds don't die, so they speak the truth. So when we're talking about straightening it, this is preparing your way. To straighten out the crooked places. When we was young, as it said, you all transgress. You ain't no way you come through a body and you ain't do an action that you didn't transgress. Like it said, who can walk through water and not be wet? So who can come through the body and not be tempted by its temptations? When we're a child, those temptations or influences should get us. Some of us done had children with people we didn't want to have children with.
Oh,
boy. Got jobs and careers that they not satisfied with. Some people done spent long hours and times and studies and degrees getting a degree they don't even use. So we're talking about why is this confusion here when it's coming from yourself? Self should know itself. But that's what we see. Self doesn't know itself. Self-conscious. It's not until the mind is in self, meaning truth is in self, that the self is no longer the lower self, that it becomes love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, meaning that you are free. You have time. You wake up when you want to, you do when you want to, you sleep when you want to, you enjoying life. That's called. And if you don't have it that way, yourself. If you got it, job well done. Many people those wisdom come to reality. Because people don't know that could be done. They in the time where they getting told what to do, rules and authority all over their head that they do not agree with, friendship with divine law, which is that, so they don't even know what's within. So when you don't know within, what the chapter said, that men love to follow, they know not how to lead. They need a pattern. So we talking about the pattern of readjusting yourself through knowledge of self. What else we got? We got to make the corners of our conduct square. These is the angles, that every angle that you hit is perfect and square. Square as in even, as in meeting. You don't have a square with broken corners. Two opposite sides, meaning that there's balance in self. I'm about to say life. There's balance in self. Just as life has equally day and night each other. So we should understand, once we understand why you have two selves, to understand the balance of nature. For nature is the unity. With the white man idea, he tell you duality. Hot is cold is not cold. That's two separate things. No, cold and hot unifies to make water, y'all. Do y'all know that? Everything in creation has to unify. They want to tell you like it's two separate. You don't feel hot water raining down. The sun is up there. Why it ain't hot water, hot boiling water when it rains? See, this is called wise contemplation. And this is what we have to do with our minds. Your minds have four corners. Let's go into some little science right quick to show you what everything goes into the brain.
Yeah, because we as a people sure isn't using our mind or our brain. We just sit around like zombies and wait on whatever he says.
Right.
Whoever in charge.
Right.
We supposed to be in charge of our own lives each and every day, not somebody else's.
Mm-hmm. We are in charge.
Who woke you up?
Mm-hmm. That's who in charge.
Okay.
And whoever woke you up is in you, evidently.
That's right.
So you in charge. So
point.
now when we're talking about the corners, square of the mind, we have to understand the mind. This is why the mind is heavy. Because the mind is over the brain. So now when we're talking about the brain, is the mind, but the activity of the brain is the mind. So now when we're talking about the corners, only a square, it only have four corners. So when we're talking about in the physical reality, yourself, your brain has spiritual tradition tell you got four that spread across the corners of the earth. Four winds. This is how they playing with you with symbolism, making you worship something outside of yourself when its understanding is within you. So the four corners is the four of your brain. These four colors is the four corners of the square. Each one of these squares can be perfectly mended once we know how to perfectly use them. So you got your east gate, your west gate, your north gate, your south gate. These the four corners or the four winds spread across the entire earth called your body. So when they're telling you in masonry that the North Star, that is not something in the sky. That is something within you called your brain. that they telling you that the master of you, that the brain sits in the North Star or the North Gate. And if it sits on the North Gate, then that means it sits on the throne on top of your spine. But they playing with you because they know you have been taught to be an idiot. And you believe what they told you, that you was a slave, that you come off a boat, that you come, and every other idea a white man can slang in your mind. Trust me, he will slang it. And if you don't have this understanding of divine law given to you by your forefathers, then you may need to come and research and come in quickly as possible. Because we're talking about if you die today, and if you don't know tomorrow, and you have now. And this is the whole situation. So people who are listening at videos, you're going to have to go to the live to see the actual imagery. So they like to say now, we're going to go a little more into it. Now we're going to do a little anatomical view. When they're talking about of many, all this correlates. See, your brain, as we see, is connected to a stem at the bottom. This stem at the bottom translates every signal coming from your brain, known as thought. So how the signal move is called thought. How it travels from the brain to the spine is called emotion. That's why it's called motion.
Yes, emotion.
But the traditional scriptures will tell you that's a jealous God. See, so it gives you symbolism, but not the actuality. So when we talk about Jacob's ladder, Jacob's ladder now it should automatically deem is the human spine. Human spine. I promise you right here, if you understand this wisdom right here, you will free yourself.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about.
But Noble Drew Ali said, if I could just get you to think himself, he was already thinking. So I'm like him, I'm already thinking. If I can just get you to think, you'll free yourself.
Just like trying to teach him how to fish. And once he learn how to fish, he can catch a fish himself.
He can catch a fish himself. I know who taught me how to fish.
Same with the gardening and
right.
All that. You got to plant and how to grow it yourself. See, this is now you becoming up in everything. But we been driven to go it when even somebody drive somebody else, that's a bad big mistake right there. Just from the get-go.
From the get-go.
But we do it with honor. We ain't using our mind to the fullest.
The mind to the fullest. So when I speak to you about the black man come from 144 trillion years ago, we need to understand this is self-mastery. So this is not no white man ideal. You can't even get white out of this. So this is self-mastery and you existing with yourself before even thing in the outer world existed. So before you came into the outer, you were still the same in the inner world. You was just a smaller man. We call it micro man. Or the NBA, they call the NBA player Ant-Man. So when they call him Ant-Man, they really calling him a divine being, but he don't know it. See, this is the connection. When I say to you that all was born from an orgasm, and the orgasm that you have in you today comes from the creator from the beginning, from 144 trillion years. This is the anatomy and the theology of the black man and the black woman. So that same orgasm produced a sperm. In ancient times, they called it, guess what they called the sperm? They called the sperm Jesus. This is where you get the biblical word Jesus. This is what I mean. They playing on you with symbology, and you will never know calling on something that you don't even know. So that word is Jiza, Jizza. And that word now translated by white man, once he found the black man, he created Jesus. And now got you worshiping his Jesus. When in you is already the Jesus. Let me bring in the proof to that right quick. I say we need to.
Yeah, boy, I was just thinking about the come. You know how where Jesus coming back again, waiting on the come, and the come already.
It's already in you. Now, when we come to the Bible, this is why I always talk about he coming again. They up here playing with us. We know how to maintain it once we get this higher knowledge. We created them, but now they made this all into a little child metaphysical story. Now Jesus returning to save you, he's gonna resurrect again. And that's talking about just like how we are today.
Yeah, boy, they must hijack.
We each are Jesus because we are the sperm in the sperm that became flesh. But we didn't call ourselves sperm, we called ourselves Al-Mujiza. This is why in the Sufian you get the correct name, so we don't have to go through that. This took us 18 years to be revealed by the Father himself, creator. No man could deliver this. This had to be delivered by the creator himself. And what Jesus is known for? Miracles. And the greatest miracle is you coming out as an orgasm from the creator. When we talk about the reason why I'm bringing that in is to connect that picture of the brain that I'm showing on the screen, that picture of the brain, with that's the head of the sperm cell. When I show you this picture, okay, when I show you this picture, this is the tail of the sperm cell. So now when I'm talking about you is this manifested out, this is why you have a head and a spine. This is still you. The universe was prior to this universe. And it was realer than this one. You get a glimpse of it. Guess where this state come from? This is what they call. This is saying this is why we call ourselves the scientists. We the scientists. We just ain't talking and preach. That's to save a little.
Can they see that what you done?
On the screen they can. The screen sharing.
You giving it to them, boy. They ought to have a whole different outlook by the time it's when it's over. They shouldn't. You can read and write a little bit.
That's how.
A little bit. So this would be just totally just they're dumb.
Right. As we just believe the white man just like that.
We can't do
so
it.
Now that's an interview of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You can see the connection.
Connection all the way up.
See, that's what's inside of you, and this is what is called heaven.
Yeah.
See, what made this happen is called the cerebrum spinal fluid.
Look at that.
The cerebrum spinal fluid is what became as the spine of the sperm traveling from the brain down the spine into the testicles, out the sperm, out the urethra.
Yeah.
That's the opening of the male penis or any opening.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about understanding self, this is why we have two selves. This is the clay self from earth, that's going back to Mother Nature.
Yeah.
But the spirit man, this is the spirit man inside.
Yeah.
Now this is what you must build. Lower self you mostly became trapped in the spine.
Yeah.
So now, meaning you now a sperm cell. Now, the brain is not the spine as you see. It's not, it's attached, but it's not the same.
Connected, but it ain't. Yeah.
So this is what it say, brain cells. This is where you hear the word brain cells. Brain cells don't become spine cells.
Yeah.
So what you want to do when to become a higher self is a brain cell.
Yeah.
Meaning you got to use your mind to become a brain cell. If you just moving around, that's the spine. Notice the spine is always twisting and twirling, bending this, but the brain is still. And so this is what we mean when we're talking about these tools. These the tools to get you back to health, which is to the brain, to the brain cell. Compass to draw circles around our path. If we don't, we'll kill ourselves.
That's
what is happening.
Right on.
If we don't have a spiritual compass, the physical compass will kill ourselves.
And see, and that's why we usually got this morning, because of that, the two physical acts, they are falling, they're hitting, or going and being at that place. You see what I'm saying? All this is connected to life, and then we become all this, and no matter what we do, that's why we gotta be where we go.
Right. So when Allah say He give you the ability to think, reason, and choose, that's brain power.
That's right.
So willpower is brain power. See, we have to understand the reason why anybody end up in a physical location is because of the brain.
Right on.
Their brain sucked them down.
That's my point.
This is why self needs self-knowledge, because self can block
that's right.
those thoughts. Once it know how, now self can stay home.
Yeah.
That's a higher thought.
Yeah.
Teaching your children. See, this is teaching your children this stuff.
That's that 15 verse where what you talking about now, like draw circles around our passion and desire. This is what you talking about now.
Right now. So this is called spiritual healing.
That compass.
That compass.
So you don't get lost, so you know which way you go.
So yeah, now we expose that your calm is called Jesus. And this is how you came to have a brain and a body, aka a higher self or lower self.
Yeah. Thought alone how all this being manifest and connected.
Right.
Some kind of power, man. Power going on. Power in the spirit.
This is what you know. The power's in the mind. It's not the sperm. The sperm is a cell.
Right.
The brain cells don't become sperm cells. They stay as brain cells, live in paradise. This is where you want to be when you're talking about paradise. That cerebral spinal fluid. What's the fluid? When you hear it's a fluid in the brain, they call it water. They say it's a water in the brain. That water is seminal fluid. Called cerebral fluid. Cerebral mean that's a scientific fancy word for saying the brain. So you have two brains, and that's what creates your lower self. Now the Sufian says that repentance there for the healing of the spirit first. So now this is how you go into spiritual healing. To spiritual heal yourself is to understand sexual healing or emotional healing. So when we're talking about the spine is the spiritual station. So your spine, guess how many stations it has? That's visible. It has 24 visible stations. Now, if I was to ask you how many days, how many hours in a full day and night?
Say 24.
24.
Mm-hmm.
Now you should have a correlation. There's a correspondence right there.
Yeah.
So what's happening outside is happening inside.
That's where you get the 24 from.
Hours, because the 24 hours, 24 elders. The 24 elders is the elders of these 24 stations. And this is what they mean when they say that you have to travel through the halls of a Amenti. If that's an Egyptian scholarship saying that you have to travel through the spine to get to the fields of Aru. See, and that's the Aru, the Arif. See, and this is all include. I'm not making none of this stuff up. This is all scholarship, scientific. Matter of fact, go get a dummy and see can they make this up. This makes sense to you what they just did. So now you have the lower self and your higher self in the spine system. So we have to learn that every emotion that we feel, every thought that is sunk, it travels through this spine system. And if it's physical, it go out to the nervous system. And if it's spiritual, to the cerebral. So we talk certain thoughts now, where we're saying building up the workshop of the mind.
Yeah.
Certain thoughts. Remember, we're dealing with emotions when we're dealing with thoughts. Thoughts is the creator of emotion. Emotion is the substance that flows down your body. Like when you feel chills, that's a real substance that came out of your brain that you actually feel oozing down your body and is sending you chills. That is a real happening coming from your brain, from something entering it. So it's the same way with life. When they tell you the axis or the equator of the world, and then they'll tell you in real life that the equator is an imaginary line. See, they talking about that spiritually. The equator is your spine. The axis or the atlas is the top of the spine. So now when we're talking about all of America is located in the spine. When we say Africa, we're not going nowhere past the spine. The spine Africa is a station in the spine. When we say Asia, that's a station in the spine. So y'all, if we take this to deeper thinking, that if you're not careful, you can manifest in Africa. This is why you were born in America. If was I born in America and not Africa? Since they want to push Africa on you, you wasn't born there. Why was you created on this plane? And it's because it's a station in the spine that you have to understand to develop. This is why it's called north. North is considered the North Gate. The North Gate is considered the North Star. The North Star is considered the brain. So we got to get on track here. This is the place where you rise to a higher mind. But this is why everybody thriving over here and want to get to your land. But you getting tricked by the people who came to your land with the idea you need to leave your land. See, this is why it's dangerous. You can receive a thought that you need to relieve your land. This is why you better have self-knowledge and self-mastery. So this is how you actually heal yourself. So when you are eating things assisting the spinal chamber system. This is the chamber system where they say the 33 degrees. These are the 24. And then inside the body, you have 9 hidden ethers. This is what Malachi York was expressing as the 9 ethers. It comes before the first hydrogen. So meaning it's at the very bottom in the darkness before hydrogen. And they call this the sacrum and the coccyx. So this is why you have a cock, and your cock holds something in it called sacred fluid. And this sacred fluid in traditional is called the Holy Ghost. And in that Holy Ghost, it creates life. It breathes life into souls. It's not the breath that gives life, it's the soul, the seed, the cerebral spinal fluid that you are living in existence that's giving you the cognition. So to know when you awake and sleep, this is all the spine. So we want to know this. So this is why they say you want to be conscious at death, because death is a conscious thing. And whatever you think about, that's where you're going. And see, you didn't learn nothing, going to the very base of the spine. This is what they call hell. And it's called the lumbar region of the spine. So we have to know these things so we can understand life is not hell. It's just that's what the ideals they called it. But you just go to another realm of life that you're gonna live just like in this life, but you find it's not heaven. Because you're getting either closer or further, or you're going directly there. So you have heaven unless you understand wisdom purity. Purity will get you all the way through the spinal system, with meaning you don't experience the second death. So that's what we own when we're talking about the compass to draw circles around the passions. If we don't do that, we can easily, by the brain, be put to a place that we wish we wasn't at. And desires. If we don't have a spiritual, then physical desires will take us out of here. There's no age limit for you to die. That's why you can't know. That's why you don't know when you're gonna die.
That's right.
Because you don't supposed to know. You're supposed to. Yes, there's no timeline. See, we have to understand time from the sun and not from the moon. We've been understanding it from the white man's idea. Malachi York came with the 9 ether, giving us. He was telling, if we understand how every mastermind has came, he said that you needed wisdom, right understanding, and sound right reasoning. And this is called truth. And if we didn't pay attention to that, then we missing the whole thing. Because that's what led us to where we at now. Now the right knowledge, the right wisdom, the right understanding, and the sound right wisdom is divine right knowledge, divine right wisdom, divine right understanding, sound divine right reasoning. We have everything in totality. Now we got everything in its rightness. Everything in its rightness is divine. So now the puzzles has been put together. Is the black man not a nigga? Black man from Allah. Because no nigga could do this. But the black man from Allah. So the character is the wisdom. This is to get you to the Fatiha to live with your creator. As the revelation say, you should see your God face to face. You should see him like you see your father. You should see him like you seen your mother. You should see him like you seen your brothers and your sisters. This is how true and exact it all is. Once we understand what everything is from the correct origin in the first beginning point. So righteousness is cerebral. If we understand this is what military people understand, that you have two hemispheres, So they can send a signal to one side of the hemisphere and it'll communicate to the other side of the hemisphere. See, I have a picture put up called the cerebral hemispheres. So this is why you see the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon is a sphere. Now, you don't see the whole of the sun or the moon, right? You don't see the other side of the moon.
No.
You don't see the other side of the sun.
No.
That's because they are hemispheres, meaning you only see half of it. So that's to show you that that part exists. The other half is the greater part that only the great ones will get to see, who lived the great life and done the great work. Mm-hmm. So those two, the sun and the moon, represent your hemisphere. So now, to get to understanding, this is why the sun and the moon exist, to show you have two hemispheres. And you got to know that the moon and the sun are two different. So the sun gives life to the moon. The moon reflects the sun's light. So when in different angles, we have to understand, as above, that's called the celestial sphere. So as above is called the brain. This is what's going on in the brain. So you got certain thoughts arising in these spheres. And these spheres are going to start shifting. And once they start shifting, they're going to shift down the spine. Such an instant of time that you would be either doing what you was thought out to do, or you feel what you was feeling. But it's very important. So if we don't go on the righteous side, that's the right hemisphere. That's why I'm bringing it in. The physical side is the left hemisphere. So when we want to work both of them together, we have to use the body and the brain. So now when we talk about, we link ourselves to the activity of the sun, we link ourselves to the right hemisphere. So the sun release heat, make things grow, share nothing but love. So when you activate those things within you, you activating your sun, your right hemisphere. So this is what's all going down in man and woman. That's been kept hidden through parables and allegories called Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. And others, man, just all originally. And how Allah created himself. Allah had to create himself a brain. This is why a baby don't have a brain until he learn how to start using a brain. So the same way, you didn't have a brain. You were born with it, but you didn't have it. You got to learn how to use it. So it's the same way.
Learn of it and learn how to use it.
This is why our Creator is all wise and exact.
That's beautiful.
So now we have the axe. We use the axe to cut away the knotty, the useless, and the ungainly parts, and make the character symmetrical. Now we should know what that is taking us forth to. This is why the scientists be having so much fun, because they know Negroes don't know. Tell them, hey, I'll stop your headache with this, and then they get a whole show. They get a whole show, and you let it happen. Man, I wish I can get a side view of that.
Why we turned to them for everything? He not coming. What do you think?
Now I ain't trying to be funny, y'all, but y'all see, right? But don't look like an axe. Yeah, just all together. Don't the axe got a stem? Then it got that comes out the side. That's bigger than the stem.
Yeah.
Two sides.
Like the big head and the blade on one end.
See, this is the axe. So we have to understand all this is happening when we're talking about the workshop of the mind inside the body. See, so you're going to have inside the body and you're going to feel these thoughts. Some of these thoughts going to say some bad words. So, but what you need to understand that you have the thought to cut that away now. That's what the stem is. See, because once down here, it got to be cut away. If it don't be cut away, they attached. And if it's attached, where is it attached? On the spine. It's in the vertebrates disc. They call them the vertebrate disc of the spine. So this is and make the character the brain. So this is the character.
Yeah.
This is what's controlling the person or the cast member.
Yeah. Beautiful diagram we got there.
And we use the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it in until it is part of every part. So that's the same device, an axe and a hammer from the same family. One to cut, one to drive.
That picture you had come out your book.
Oh, not this one. I just pulled this up quickly off the internet. But they are in my book.
Yeah, because see, I mean, when and everything points to it, and don't learn it, you should learn it fully like that. So you gotta know all about yourself.
Right.
What makes you tick?
What makes us tick? And we're talking about the brain. What make the brain tick? See, the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it in until it's part of every part. See, we've been using the wrong thing. We've been using because our old folks used to always tell us you got two heads. Head and a little head. Make sure you use your big head.
Boy, I done been told that many times.
So what we gotta say is, and that's the great woman teaching you. Woman teaching you right there. That's what I'm saying. The great woman, the black woman, is God teaching you. Hey, she teaching you. But we
heard what I want to hear, that I didn't want to hear.
And that's why we breaking this out, because just for our future, for our futures, yet young and yet bright future as well. That hammer is the penis. When it's used wrong, this is what we hammer. We use our whole life to hammer the wrong thing, pounding the wrong. When you're supposed to be pounding that truth into that mind. You're supposed to not have body sex, but mind sex.
Yeah.
Pounding that truth into that mind. This how it's supposed to be.
And we ain't got our mind right. We already active in the body sex and the spirits.
This is why.
That's why everybody all and everything. Yes, they do.
That's why the soul is the seed, as we read in chapter 1. The soul is the seed. Understandable. So how we get a cerebrum and a cerebellum is from the seed. This is the seed growing out as the tree of life. So now the tree of life is then drive that truth home into the mind. We did the wrong pounding. We were pounding with the wrong head. And see, that go for a woman as well. They pounding with body. See, you got two hemispheres. You got the woman got two legs. She don't supposed to split them legs. Hemispheres. See what a man working with up there. Praise be to Allah. Hey, this the science of how we all was born through the orgasm and why supposed to understand what life is fit to do. Learn the knowledge of self, the great understanding of mindsets, psychology of the mind. So the plane to smooth the rough, uneven the surface joint, and block the board that go to build the temple for the truth. So we know. So now when they say you live in a globe earth, round earth, you got to understand the creator. And you got to understand yourself. And each plane has a sphere. You live in a planar sphere. Earth is a planar sphere. Planar sphere. The heavens above, and the plane is what you're walking on, like a plank, a ground, a level, a playing field, even playing. See, this is supposed to be smooth, mean even, balanced, not rough, shaky every day. It should be consistently smooth throughout your whole life. The cord should be cut so it can sell on. That's you doing the work on your spine. That time come, it's smooth trailing. Because you laid it down. Like you said to the man, I laid it down. That's what you did with life. You came and laid it down. You put life on her. She gave you life and you put life back on her. And we talking about macro now. We ain't talking about the micro.
I'm just thinking about something here. How they went into Revelation. And the word revelation means to reveal, but they didn't put it clear as how you doing it with the 24 elders sitting around the throne. And when you came in, you showed the true meaning of the 24. And it's represent your spine. And how somebody can take it, but that go to show you they have to know something in order to translate it and write it like that and put it where you can't catch it. But write it out in words, and then some still don't get it.
That's it. That's what they did. That's what they call a cult.
Yeah, and we're dealing with the mind and the writing out, but yet the mind can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
The ones who can read and write.
Right. That's right.
So now when we think we done been to school, we think we done graduated, we think we successful now. Nothing pertaining to self. Everything he taught was out. In somebody else's ideal and concept. Yeah, that's all it is. That's all. We were raised on that.
Right. if
it ain't funny.
Right.
It ain't funny.
Hey, but we gotta make joy. We can't let them steal our happiness.
Yeah, that's right.
Because joy is in the release called endorphins and oxytocins and things like that. So it's all within self and of self. And give me one moment to get something to drink. So now this is why you can't do someone else's work for them. Meaning the work that self is sent to do for life is to build up your mind. Own mind. And so only that I can do is offer the knowledge and offer the services that will help you into fulfilling that and conquering the lower self into the higher. But other than that, you got to do the work. You can do is prescribe the truthful knowledge, and you got to do it. I did it, so you must do it. That's what Jesus said. What I did, you must do. And you got to pick up your cross. That means your body, your spine, and get it in. And this is very important for us to understand the truth. All this is the truth, that you have a brain, that you have a spine, that you came from orgasm. And what was the orgasm was a sperm. Now you know the sperm was a seed. Now you know the seed was the soul. Now you know the soul is the spirit, the human spirit clothed in soul. So now when we're talking about the human spirit, not the human flesh. We're talking about the human spirit. That's what your mind is. And that's what you're supposed to birth into as you birth out of the flesh into the spirit man. The wise don't. The brain, the heavens, the right hemisphere. When it's at?
Right hand.
The right hand, that's the right hemisphere. That's behind the sun. We see the in front of the sun. As behind the sun, the right hemisphere. So all this has a connection to this temple. So we should know this is the same temple that said that was not built with hands. The human body is the temple that was not built with hands.
That's right. And we know that.
And we know that. Spirit can't be built with hands.
That's correct.
It got to be.
That's right.
So this is where the human spirit comes in. That this is the temple you build for the spirit man. Just like you built the house for the human flesh, the human man. And so once we live in that way on this side, this is how you know that you have built it. And that's what you're going to as the mansions, the many mansions.
There you go. This your purpose right here.
And it also says the chisel. Look at all these tools that the mind got to use.
And each tool has its own purpose to do the job with. The chisel, the line.
See, and a carpenter knows well that each tool got a certain specific purpose.
That's correct.
And so now we have our spiritual tools. The spiritual square, the spiritual compass, the spiritual axe, the spiritual hammer, the spiritual plane. See, we use the spiritual plane to smooth the rough. We use the spiritual plane to uneven the surface of the joint, the physical. We use the spirit plane to smooth out the physical block. We use the spiritual plane to make the board and go to build the truth for temple of the truth. The spirit plane is the material we use in the for truth. Then we got the spiritual chisel. We got the spiritual line. That's the plumb line. Then we got the spiritual plummet. And then we got the spiritual saw. And when it get right there, we gotta, where do we pull out the spiritual saw?
You know, all I could do is sit here and think as you talk, and I'm just thinking, what power we possess.
What we possess.
And don't even
And then know it.
recognize it. I mean,
Like I said, I like to be off this existence without like
man, it's a blessing, and you take your last breath. Can you imagine that all the ones that's already gone, even what I done learned within the last 13 years? Think about that's why I always say that. I think about the ones who already done transited and didn't know this. And they supposed to know.
and we supposed to know this. This is your
And
greatest
guess what
self.
else? And guess what else? They know all that other stuff they learned.
All the
All
white
the
men
bad.
ideas.
In the road, they
Right.
learned all that.
They learned all.
And learned the way.
They probably knew how many stats LeBron had before they left.
Goodness.
This is what is in our mind.
We starting out so wrong. Man.
Right. It ain't the spiritual plane. That ain't in our minds. We ain't using that to govern the physical and the build. Because as we can see, because we already read it, since we already know what the truth is. It's the higher self, as it said. But at least we read the chapter 3 where it says the higher self is the embodiment of truth. Yeah. And the higher self is the human spirit, clothed in soul.
That's why that.
So now when we're talking about building the temple for the truth, for the higher self, you got to build the temple for the higher self. This is why they want you to work on a job in the physical form for 30, 40 years. Because they know now that's less years you got to work on your spiritual temple.
And really, when you think about, you don't even supposed to be going out. What they done set up and establish, like corporation and jobs and going to work. We don't even supposed to be doing living. I mean, when you look at it like that and draw that up,
we don't. That's why you
this
see
is
no
what we're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm. This is the great work that we're supposed to be doing, getting knowledge of self.
Doing all this crazy stuff we doing. And you notice certain places where the invader ain't they still doing it the natural way.
The natural way.
Right here on earth, our people. In other places now, not him.
Yeah.
Might be a few about it. But it's still living on that law of the land.
Right. That's
the
what's
natural
important.
Way.
The natural way. The natural way. That's what's important.
Goodness.
So these are the tools we must use if we want to build the temple of the higher self.
In 21, it says, on the 12-step ladder, we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of that which lies is lie to build a perfect man. What this society has done, and ain't no such thing as building, now becoming towards action, because this society has stolen that away. Because they say you can't be that.
Created the society, the white man.
Yep.
So he put ideas to steal your belief.
Yep.
And have you believe in his ideas and have his ideas better than yours.
Yeah.
His eyes better than yours. His eyes colder than yours.
Yeah.
Remember that whole
I was having that trouble.
That's our old saying. Hey, yes. Spirits have become physical. To become as a soul, not physical. You're supposed to become spirit. Spirit. So in order to become spirit, you have to become the perfected man. And in order to become the perfected man, because that's going to take a long time. I was working at a factory. You got to.
That's right.
And so this is why that it takes 18 years for someone who is born on to reach the temple of the perfected man. The perfected man is the man pure, the pure man. So the purity is what we're talking about, is what has to be reached. But before you can reach the pinnacle, because that's the pinnacle, is purity. The pure man, the pure self, the spirit man. When we say, or Noble Drew Ali say spirit man, he's saying the pure man. When he's saying the pure man, now in the ancient way, that's the Sufian or the Sufian, the pure. So now when we're talking about how is that done, it's done through a 12-step ladder. That's the spine. As above, so below. You got how many signs above? How many months you got in a year? If we don't know, life is 1 year. Right? For you to have another birthday, that's 1 year. That's called a new year. Not a birthday. It's called a new year. A new day. 1 year, new year is actually 1 year. Now, life is based on 1 day. This is why they tell you do all things out. This is why you understand that we only live in really 1 day. And we actually keep being resurrected into a new day to get it right.
To get it right. That's right. That's where I look at each day. Each day, all of us is given. That's what I think of that right
there. And what is to get it right is to get it pure. Now, we're talking about you all awake now. You're going to feel something that's going to bring you to sleep. That's brought to death. But guess what? You've seen anyone in the Bible or your family members come back from the grave. Come back to earth. Resurrect. Come back to the earth in the same fleshly body and say, here I am. Come give you money. Come give you cars. Come give you what all you were saying you needed as a poverty. So what it means is that's what they flipped the black man's idea. All black people, the white man wants you to go to the grave with the white man's idea.
And that's what
that you resurrect after you die. What we want to understand is that you alive. And I'm finna prove it just how I just proved it. You're gonna feel that you're gonna feel a force. That force is gonna bring you to sleep. That's similar to death. Sleep is the brother of death.
That's right, which overtakes you.
So now, next morning you wake up. That means you was resurrected back into the flesh.
That's right.
Resurrected again for the second. Touch me. Here come my
another day.
Here.
That's right.
I was cut.
That's right.
Here come my womb. Touch me. I am real.
Yeah.
So he's not talking about after death.
Yeah.
He's still. But the white man had you thinking about after death. He said no one knew Jesus, but the people he came to. But why could he say, touch me or touch my hand or look at my a spirit form if it's not a physical form? That's what we're saying. The spirit is the physical. But the people, the white man have made the physical turn spiritual and the spirit with spooky spirits.
And that's why people that very seldom use that word much, spirit.
Right. And we don't know and understand all this is of death. That we don't know what that is. I had to find out what that is. I almost reached death in my life. That's why it took me to the brink of how I'm revealing what's revealed. Because after you learn,
get another chance.
you get another chance. It's time to do right.
You got to run. You to the same old bun.
Yep, not to the
not
same.
to that no more.
Not finding what it is, and that's what it is.
All
the perfect
of us,
man.
All of us should be now learned from our mistakes and wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't keep going back and doing it over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because if we don't, what is that resurrecting us? See, because it's not the breath.
So
now check this out.
You already breathing all night long. It ain't that.
Right, you was breathing. So it ain't the breath.
And when you woke up, you breathe. So
it ain't the breath. The breath is sustaining the physical existence.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
But when we talking about the human spirit, that's called the holy breath. Breath and holy breath. That's what comes in and resurrects you and wakes you up for a new day that you think is Tuesday. It's a resurrected day. You resurrected.
Yeah, just your day. You know, you want to name it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Hey, that's on what idea you have, but that's what Allah is the only deity. And when we say deity, we saying day. Allah is the only day. So in the day of Allah, and what Allah is, this is what man is, and he cannot die. And that's what he's trying to say. Spirit man cannot die, meaning spirit man is the mind. The pure mind is what we want to spend the rest of our life building the perfect temple for, so we have everlasting life. So now when that time do come, when the breath got to transcend, you ready. It's smooth seas, because we follow the trinity of steps. Because remember that 3 is consistent. Because you got the lower self, then you got the higher self. Higher self is giving you 3 selves. Unifying. The third one unifies it all. So it tells us on this ladder, the 12-step ladder, or the 12 signs of the zodiac, or your spine. Your spine, each one of those have a trinity of steps. Each sign have 3 modalities in it. The science of knowledge of self. The white men do it. It don't have nothing to do with it. That's why they have no clue what they teaching. They don't know the stars above built the body below.
Sure did.
So
to say the earth, the stars, the stars above.
Right. This is why I say Allah is all. If you got a head, that's Aries. If you got a foot, that's Pisces. So it don't matter. You all of it. So from the head to the spine, step ladder. So once we understand how to move these 12 steps, each one of them have a summer, winter, and a fall. These are the 3 of the steps.
Now, to those 12, and when you see how people took words and then they formed the words into tribes, and then they formed 12 tribes. But when you look at the person itself, it's all in the 12 tribes.
It's all in as the 12 tribes.
But for some reason, they separate us and pull us out and make us Seminole.
He pulled out himself.
Yeah. I'm just talking.
I'm with you.
And how they did it. And now everybody running down these trails.
Running down the trails. That's how he did it. That's why you got the 12 sons of Jacob.
Yeah.
See, they stealing. That's why people believe in the Bible. Those are the 12. The Israel come from the 12 Jacobs and the tribes. That goes back to the 12 sons of Jacob.
Yeah.
So the 12 tribes is actually the constellations. But they ain't never told them. It seemed like it's one constellation that's special. The whole constellation made the unity of all us. We wouldn't have a head if it weren't for Aries. So now we're talking about each sign, like 1 through 12, like 12 months.
Yeah.
12 months have 4 quarters.
That's right.
Now, when I say this is how they create. Every sport have some type of quarter system.
That's right.
Either 2 quarters or 4 quarters.
That's right.
This is what they tell.
That's right.
It's from the makeup of the spine. So they this from the black man. They took it's out of 12 months, there's 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Or there's 3 quarters. So you got 3 times 4 or 4 times 3. So when we're saying the 4 corners or the 4 lobes of the brain, the 4 lobes of the brain each have 3 parts in it. And so to awaken your full brain, you got to awaken every part of the brain. So to wake up the brain, you got 36 parts of the brain, but we coded it. So when we say 12, that's 36, but we coded it in 12. So now, like if Aries is springtime. So now Aries is your spine system. Aries is closer to the top of your spine. Winter is closer to the bottom of your spine. So now when we're talking about Aries, we're talking about spring time hold for 3 quarters, 3 months. So these 3 months are holding the 3 quarters. So Aries, Taurus, Gemini brings in a quarter. So in the same way, after that shift, then it shifts to summer. Summer's held 3 quarters, and that's what they call 90 degrees. So each one of these, we understanding now, 3 has 3 steps. So in hope and love, and this is how we climb the spine. You climb up the spine to reach the dome or the throne or the brain. Yeah, I'll show you right quick. This is very important because that's the whole brain, right? Once when I show you this right here, this is what they call the Fatiha, the central nervous system.
Then, even in the translator in the Quran, see they just playing around when they could be straight to the point. And that's probably why they use this always you repeating the first 7 verses of the Quran.
So now, when we're talking about reaching the seat of God or reaching heaven, this is heaven. The whole brain is heaven. The right side is the right hemisphere. But the actual seat or the throne of where they say God was sitting is right here, right in the center. This is what they call the central nervous system in science. This is what is called the Fatiha in the Sufis. This is the first Fatiha. This is where the heart and the brain was born from. That same seed we was, that's the seed right there. Oh, it went away from it. Oh, that's a good one too. So that will show you it'll show you more color.
Same spot.
Yeah, same spot. So yeah, that blue color is the center. So when they're saying the pituitary and the pineal gland, that's not the actual gland. See, we have the right cerebral cortex. That's the right hemisphere. Now, guess what they call that spot right here? They call it
the thalamus.
Now, this is where you get the word Allah, God, Theo, that word Theo right here, that's Greek for God.
Allah, A-L-A.
Yep, Allah, for Allah, you get Most High or Muslim. This is the seat of God right there. This is why Allah is the name, because that's the actual place. Get to the throne. So none of this stuff is what we're talking about. Our ancestors, yes, the ancient black women and black men of the wise black men and women. This all back for us.
Never starting on that. This poison he's sending out. Man, but
and that's how we finish our last line. That's the dome. When we enter the brain, that's the dome.
The perfect man.
The perfect man is that image I just pointed. That's the purity.
Yeah.
Right there. That's the spirit man. And we just hit 1 o'clock.
I'm just sitting there. One thing I could think of is to stop. It's time for our people to stop being poisoned with these thoughts and these books and these words and these people.
Mm-hmm. And it's all by
ideas. Sending them to these schools. They all wind up there. Like, wind up.
That symbol look for.
Oh, I seen that. When I saw that, I saw that, and that's what Akbar used.
See, this is where Akbar got it from.
Yeah.
I bet no one knows what that means.
No.
I'm gonna ask him next time I see him.
The eye of Allah, you have the right and the left hemisphere. It's supposed to be two hands right here.
This is what I just showed. This is exactly what I just showed. This is
you
how
had two of them then, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The picture I just showed, that's the same thing. This is how they did it in old times. Remember, we didn't have X-ray photograph to go look at this stuff.
Sure did.
We drew this out.
That's right.
This is how we drew it out. That's the thalamus. That's the brain. That's the spine. That's the cerebrum. And that's us inside. See, and that's the thalamus. That's Allah right there. But we don't know. That's Allah in man.
I know that. He done draw it up, but I wondered if he know, can he explain that just like how you explain it?
If you got wisdom, you will. Because that's what I have.
Man.
Yeah, so we're going to get ready to close our meeting. In the name of the great God Allah. Wadu.